The ocean is a force of nature, powerful and unpredictable. 412 men aboard the tugboat, Jaskin 4 off the coast of Nigeria. A routine mission was about to become a desperate fight for survival. It was a gray morning in May, just another day at sea. On deck, the crew moved with familiar ease, preparing their equipment, their laughter mixing with the sound of the wind. They were completely unaware that the sky above was darkening, the sea swelling with a hidden fury. But nature, as it often does, had its own plan. The waves grew higher, more violent, crashing against the hull with a thunderous roar. The boat began to pitch and roll, a small vessel at the mercy of a colossal force. Then it happened. A rogue wave, a monstrous wall of water, slammed into the Jaskin 4. The impact was catastrophic. The tugboat tilted violently, alarms blaring like a final, desperate scream. Men and equipment were thrown across the deck as chaos erupted. In a matter of seconds, their world was literally turned upside down. Water surged over the railings, swallowing the deck, sweeping everything and everyone into the churning sea. The boat was capsizing. Deep inside the vessel, in the small confines of a bathroom, the ship's cook, Harrison Okene, was caught completely off guard. He was wearing only his underwear when the water burst in, a violent, freezing torrent that sent him spinning. In that single terrifying moment, his life was irrevocably altered. The boat sank rapidly, a tomb of twisted metal descending into the dark depths. Harrison was plunged into a swirling vortex of debris, darkness, and the ghostly forms of his crewmates. The water was a chaotic mess of floating equipment, and tragically, the bodies of his friends. He saw them through the churning water, struggling, lost. Panic could have consumed him, but instinct took over. He knew he couldn't stay in the open water. He had to find shelter, any pocket of air within the sinking ship. It was a split-second decision, a desperate dive back into the submerged chaos of the wreck. But it was the one choice that would ultimately save his life. He swam blindly, his lungs screaming for air, pushing through the wreckage-filled corridors of his upside-down world. He found his way into the second engineer's cabin, a small, dark space that was rapidly filling with water. Just as he entered, the force of the water slammed the door shut behind him, trapping him inside. The water level rose until it stopped, leaving a small air pocket at the top of the inverted room, just large enough for his head and shoulders to be out of the freezing water. It was a tiny bubble of hope, a fragile sanctuary in the crushing darkness 30 meters below the surface. He was alone, entombed in a steel coffin at the bottom of the ocean. Silence, punctuated only by the drip of water and the groaning metal of the ship settling on the seabed, became his new reality. Hours bled into days. Harrison clung to whatever he could find, his body shivering uncontrollably in the frigid water. The cold was a constant, gnawing enemy. He learned to control his breathing, taking slow, deliberate breaths to conserve the precious, finite supply of air in his small pocket. He was trapped with nothing but time and his own thoughts. His mind raced, replaying the disaster, thinking of his family, his crewmates. But despair was a luxury he couldn't afford. Survival demanded action. He began to assess his surroundings, his eyes slowly adjusting to the pitch-black darkness. His prison was small, but it might hold the keys to his survival. He noticed the cabin door was warped and jammed shut. Driven by a primal need to live, Harrison began to explore his tiny, dark world. He felt around his hands, searching for anything that could be useful. He found some broken metal pieces from the cabin's paneling. With painstaking effort, he began to fashion a crude tool, a makeshift leaf. He worked tirelessly, his muscles aching, prying at the damaged door. It wouldn't budge much, but he managed to create a small opening. Reaching through, his fingers brushed against something. He pulled it through the gap. It was a flashlight. He switched it on. A beam of light cut through the darkness, the first he'd seen in what felt like an eternity. He found 2 life jackets, which he used to lift himself further out of the water, and an overall. He even found a can of sardines and a bottle of cola. Every small item was a miracle, a vital tool for survival. With the flashlight, he could see the full extent of his confinement. The water around him was murky, filled with floating debris. He knew the air pocket wouldn't last forever. He had to be able to navigate in the darkness if the light failed. Tearing the overalls into strips, he painstakingly braided them together to create a makeshift rope, a lifeline. He anchored one end near his air pocket. This simple rope became his guide, allowing him to venture away from his sanctuary and dive into the freezing black water to search for other resources or a possible escape route, always with a way to find his way back to the life-giving air. Each dive was a terrifying gamble, a journey into the unknown where disorientation or entanglement could mean a quick end. Yet, time and time again, he plunged into the cold darkness, and time again, he returned. For nearly 3 days, Harrison Okene survived in this impossible situation. He rationed his food and drink, battled extreme cold, and fought off the crushing despair that threatened to overwhelm him. He could hear the sounds of the ocean, outside of fish, the currents. He even heard boats on the surface, their engine sounds filtering down through the water. He would bang on the hull with the hammer he'd found, a desperate, rhythmic plea for help, hoping someone, anyone, would hear him. But his knocks were met with silence. Hope began to fade. He grew weaker, the CO2 levels in his small air pocket rising to toxic levels. He started reciting a psalm his wife had sent him that morning, preparing for the end. He was convinced he would die. Meanwhile, on the surface, a salvage operation was underway. A team of divers was sent down to the wreck of the Jaskin 4, not for a rescue, but for a recovery mission. They were there to retrieve the bodies of the crew. They moved methodically through the sunken vessel, a grim and silent task. A diver named Nico van Heerden was swimming through the dark, murky corridors when he saw a hand reach out from the wreckage. He flinched, assuming it was another victim. But then, the hand grabbed him. In the shocking footage from the diver's helmet camera, you can hear his surprise. He thought it was a ghost, but it wasn't. It was Harrison. After 60 hours trapped in an air pocket at the bottom of the ocean, he had been found. The rescue was incredibly complex. Bringing Harrison to the surface too quickly would have been fatal due to the extreme pressure change. The divers had to carefully place him in a diving bell and begin a slow, controlled decompression process that would take another 2 full days. Finally, after a total of 5 days since the accident, Harrison Okene stepped back into the sunlight. He was the sole survivor of the Jaskin 4. The 11 other crew members had perished. His story is an incredible testament to the power of human instinct, ingenuity, and the sheer will to live against all odds. It's a stark reminder of the ocean's unforgiving power, but also of the unyielding strength of the human spirit. Thank you so much for watching this incredible story of survival. If you found this as amazing as we did, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.